Okay, so this morning I accidentally figured out how to do this crazy fake Bitmosh effect in After Effects. It's super easy and it only uses native effects, so it's free. You're going to want to start off by getting your footage into After Effects, making a pre-comp with it. You're going to want to get your two clips that you're going to use, because this is like 4 transitions, overlap them a bit. I like to find a point of interest to overlap, so I'm using one of the dancers' whole bodies aligned to the other's shoulder. Just kind of make it flow smoother. You're going to want to decrease the opacity on your top layer just from 100 to 0. You can put some easy ease on it. I usually like to make my easy ease like super fluid, but for the sake of this, we're just going with the default easy ease. Then you're going to want to pre-comp these two together so that you just have one layer to work with. The top one is going to be your displacement map layer, and the bottom one is going to be your actual footage layer. You're going to want to start by putting the time displacement effect on your bottom layer and then setting its map to the top layer. You're then going to keyframe it to increase from 0 to your desired value and then back to 0 over the course of the opacity of the top layer shifting from 100 to 0. And at this point you can already see we've got a bit of a bitmoshing thing going on, but there's a lot more we can do to make it look better. At this point my first thought was to apply the posterize effect to the map layer because it just kind of makes it a little more chunky. It feels like you're actually doing some bit crushing because you're losing a lot of the detail in that map layer, and you can just kind of make that feel however you want it to. Like the more you increase it, the more like crunchy and grungy it's gonna get. And this next part, super weird, but if you apply colorama and then just use the sort of like black to white gradient and smooth it out a little, and then increase that and decrease it like from 1 to 2 back to 1 over the course of that transition, it'll make it like really like pop. I don't know completely how to describe it, but it'll make it feel like one of them is getting like squeezed and then smushed back together, which to me just feels very bitmoshy. Another cool thing you can do to really like crunch it down some is actually in that pre-comp, where you're decreasing the opacity of that top layer, you can also apply an extract effect to it and just kind of bring the black to transparent or the white to transparent, depending on how you want it to look. And that way you're kind of like forcing the edges to harden over time instead of just having this perfectly smooth transition. And that you can really, really like adjust however you want it to. You can like have it scratch back and forth some, but just having those harder edges on the transition really, really helps to make it feel a bit moshy. Then another thing you can do to further play around with the kind of chaos of it is duplicate your footage layer, and then just invert the time displacement so that you've got it going in the other direction, and then use the pin light blending mode. I don't know exactly how pin light works, but when you're using the pin light blending mode, you put the same footage on top of itself, it won't change how it looks, and then when you're blending two slightly different things, it'll like increase the contrast, increase the saturation. It's this cool like deep fried sort of look to it. And then that's like basically it for the effect. I'm going to show you the original project I sort of worked on this in, so you can get a sense of the extra things I added after all this stuff that just makes it look bitmoshy to like further increase the distortion and the weirdness. The main thing I did differently here was I put in the echo effect on both comps. It just sort of makes things a little more stretchy, bendy, weird. I tried applying blurs and different things, but it didn't turn out great. I really wanted to use force motion blur, but when I tried rendering it, Media Encoder got scared and just wouldn't do it, so I had to give up on that. But it would look really cool if you rendered it and then afterwards you went in and put a force motion blur back on it, to kind of make it feel a little more like whooshy. It wouldn't be very bit crushy or bitmoshy anymore, but it would still be cool. And then yeah, I think that's about it that I did fancy to it. If you try out this effect and you find other ways to make it sort of look more degraded, look more like actual bitmoshing, I would love to hear about it, because I'm still new to trying out like different transitions and stuff in After Effects instead of just motion graphics. So thanks for watching. I hope this is helpful. Let me know if you found a better way to do this, because this is an effect that I love, but I don't want to pay for, because I feel like there's a better way we can, like do it with just stuff that's native to After Effects. Thank you.